protect the sovereignty of our state. No one's taking your sovereignty away, man. Do you think that the poor people with nothing are taking your sovereignty away? So, how's everybody doing? Are you ready for a civil war? Because that's where we're going. Bad news. I know nobody really wanted another civil war, but it's a brewing. When regular right-wing people tell me that there's a civil war coming because of the Biden crime family, I'm like, nah, I don't think so. When who's that guy with the beanie? Tim Pool says, hey, that we're going to go to civil war because of Trump. I'm like, nah, I don't really think so. We never really did. We got a little bit close with the Jan 6 stuff, but that was just for him. You know, I don't think that'll ever happen again. I don't think even he has enough riz to pull that kind of stuff off again. So, what could drag us towards civil war? And it is here. Let's take a look at it. The governor of Texas doubles down. Abbott doubles down on border invasion declaration after Supreme Court blow. So the Supreme Court blew him, apparently. Very fun. Very, very exciting. They do that a lot. But he's still going to call the border an invasion. Very, very spooky, very frightening rhetoric he's got going on there. Texas Governor Greg Abbott on Wednesday accused the federal government of breaking the compact with the states following the Supreme Court ruling on Monday that cleared the way for the Border Patrol to remove razor wire installed by Texas along the U.S.-Mexico border. So the governor of Texas has said, we want this razor wire up to stop the Mexican people or the South American people from coming into our state. The federal government has suggested that it's not Texas's job. They're not allowed to be doing that. And if the federal government says no razor wire, then there is no razor wire. That is what he's suggested. And Texas does not accept that. And when you start talking about breaking the compact, that's the kind of language that starts civil wars. In his latest statement, Abbott said that President Biden has refused to enforce immigration laws and even violated them. In the latest escalation in a legal and political standoff between Texas and the federal government, though Abbott stopped short of announcing any specific measures. Yeah, he didn't announce anything. Okay, great. He's been pushing constitutional boundaries on the state versus federal jurisdiction of border and immigration enforcement for the better part of 2 years. His legal term, including State Attorney General Ken Paxton, first publicly toyed with the idea of formally declaring border invasion in April. It's not an invasion, man. It really just isn't. I don't think that anybody could suggest that that's a proper definition. Not typical double standard from conservative. Rules only apply to liberals and the poor. That's right. The laws are to protect the Republicans and harm the not Republicans. In November, Abbott wrote Biden invoking a state's constitutional right to wage war when invaded, but he only made his official invasion declaration public in September. Wrote Biden invoking a state's constitutional right to wage war when invaded. Okay, and he's just calling it an invasion because he doesn't care about what the definition is. He just wants to grandstand. Let's see, so the governors methodically increased the border enforcement roles in the Texas Department of Public Safety and the Texas National Guard, citing the constitutional authority for a state to defend itself against invasion. It's not an invasion. You are using that wrong word incorrectly and you don't care because it gets you what you want. That authority is the supreme law of the land and supersedes any federal statutes to the contrary. See, this is what gets you into trouble. When you start saying, my law supersedes a federal law, what happens? Who takes care of that? Who wins in the end? The Texas National Guard and Texas Department of Public Safety and other Texas personnel are acting on that authority, as well as state law, to secure the Texas border. I don't think that makes any sense at all. The majority of the people that are coming are going through ports of entry or flying here on a work visa and then just overstaying. The razor wire isn't solving your problem. It makes you feel good, Greg Abbott. It makes Texans feel good to know that that razor wire is there. It doesn't matter if it works. It just makes them feel good. Texas actions have precipitated several legal battles surrounding Operation Lone Star, Abbott's initiative to take greater control over immigration enforcement. The Supreme Court this week allowed federal officials, namely the Border Patrol, to remove the razor wire installed by Texas. That order did not affect other flashpoints in the uneasy relationship between feds and state agents. So I'm a Texan. That doesn't make me feel good. Yeah, it doesn't make you feel good. You're smarter than the average bear. Representative Greg Kazar from Texas followed suit Wednesday in the wake of Abbott's statement. I agree with Congressman Castro. If Abbott is defying yesterday's Supreme Court ruling, President Biden needs to establish sole federal control of the Texas National Guard. And that's probably the legal thing to do. Texas National Guard would fall under the president if the governor weren't there. If the governor is doing illegal things, you'd have to prove it, and then they might follow him. What is all this? This is a mess. This is bad. This is not a good plan. This is not a good thing for anybody. I don't think anybody's going to come out of this well. The Texans, as usual, are exaggerating. I think they're exaggerating anyway. Immigration, legal and illegal, helps our economy, makes it better, makes us a better country. It really does. And they don't like it because they've been taught not to like it, and they've been taught not to respect it. They have been screamed at by Fox News and by people on the right that the people crossing that border are coming carrying drugs. They got calves the size of cantaloupes, and they're all carrying giant backpacks full of drugs that they're going to sell to your kids, and your kids are going to OD on fentanyl. And that makes them afraid, and because they're afraid, they start lashing out. They start doing these wild-ass things like putting the floating barriers, the floating murder barriers that were in the river. They start putting the razor wire up on the border to keep people out because they're scared. They are afraid. I know Thomas has not liked me using that word, but I think it is apt. I think it is accurate. They are afraid. And instead of comprehending the reason for their fear or the idea of and trying to figure out why their economy doesn't work, they blame. They point the finger at someone that has less power than them. Governor Abbott has so much more power than a handful of poor, desperate, illegal immigrants crossing the border. They don't harm him. They don't harm his state. They don't harm his people. They never have. To some degree, to a large degree, they don't. Yes, one of them could hit you with a car. One of them could commit a small crime, but the numbers are so low that it's not actionable. It's not warranting the action that he is using at the border. It doesn't warrant the razor wire. It doesn't warrant the shutting down of the ports of entry. It doesn't warrant the slowing down of the green card processes. It doesn't warrant any of those things. And when he starts denying or shooting down or fighting, possibly even physically preventing the federal agents from doing their jobs, what's going to happen? If the feds go there and take that razor wire down, as they already have, what happens next? Do they put it back up? Does the Fed stop them from putting it back up? And if they do, what happens then? What if the governor tells the staties to put that thing up and the federal agents say, do not put that up? Could go really wrong really fast. And then what we have to do is, Texas has been talking about civil war and seceding forever, but it wouldn't go well for them. It would not go well. They all think that it's going to be great and fun and awesome, but no, it's going to go very badly. Most of your population is going to be against it. Really are. Straight off, right out of the bat. I know we make fun of Texans all the time, but most of them are going to be against it. Most of them are Americans before they're Texans, and they're going to be upset. They're not going to accept it. Every federal troop that's in that state is just, how many military bases are there in Texas? Hundreds? They are all going to turn on you. They are not going to accept the idea of Texas seceding or not following the federal law. The staties, the governor, if we're going to really into it, Governor Abbott and the people who report to him are vastly, vastly outnumbered. Even in the state of Texas, they're severely outnumbered. He does not have nearly enough people to push any sort of resistance. He doesn't. And I don't think it's going to come to that. I don't want it to come to that. I hope it doesn't. I hope he puts the things up and then it gets taken down and then he does his show. He does a show. He's doing a show. Best case, he's doing a show. That's what he's doing. He's looking into the camera. He's saying all the things that he thinks his fans wants to hear, and then he can use that to try and get elected. Political theater. That's best case. That's what he's doing. Worst case, he's a true believer, and he's going to push for them to do the things that he is suggesting, and that would get ugly and bad. And I think it would be a bad time. He would find out that it is not a good idea to be a true believer because he will lose. Let's see some other headlines on this topic. I don't understand why Joe Biden won't trade border control for Ukraine aid, though. Seems like it would resolve this whole thing. Yeah, I wanted to read about that, too. I'm not sure what the latest deal is. What is Joe Biden going to give up? He's going to have to give Texas more border control so that they'll give him the ability to aid Ukraine? That's a bad trade. Texas governor defies Supreme Court ruling, continues to fortify border with razor wire. So yeah, that was on yesterday. Abbott is pushing back and adding more razor wire to the border fence on Monday's Supreme Court ruling. So far, the Border Patrol is in the borderland and not cut down any of the razor wire. So the Border Patrol in the borderland has not cut down any of the razor wire. Okay. In the meantime, Abbott says he won't back down despite the Supreme Court's ruling, and for now plans to continue to secure the border however he wants. What Governor Abbott is doing is not just unconstitutional, and it's not just harmful to the very vulnerable people, but it's impairing the Border Patrol's ability to do their job. It's a Border Patrol that is trained and equipped to address migration. Okay. Joe Biden urged to seize Texas National Guard from Governor Abbott over the border. Yeah, there you go. See, that's what we were talking about in the last one, too. When the feds enforce the law, he's going to play the victim and say the federal government is up in their business. Yeah, and that is a very common thing to do. Why is there a picture of the Pawn Star guy in the article? Because websites are garbage now. The websites have gone to shit, and they just have random ass ads all over them. I have an ad blocker, but half of them don't work, and the other half they kind of don't do what they say they do, or you can't even get into the website. Websites suck. Texas congressman has urged President Biden to take the state's National Guard under federal control if Republican Governor Greg Abbott defies Supreme Court ruling, allowing federal agents to remove razor wire from the sections of U.S.-Mexico border. Also, the Pawn Stars guy's son OD'd recently. Oh, did he? Was it fentanyl? Oh my God. Always comes back to that. Governor Greg Abbott is using the Texas National Guard to obstruct and create chaos at the border. Oops. Well, come on, Twitter. Fuck off. If Abbott is defying yesterday's Supreme Court ruling, the POTUS needs to establish sole federal control of the Texas National Guard now. If the Texas National Guard continues to hold the line in Eagles Pass, Texas will not back down from our efforts and secure the border in Biden's absence. Don't read too many interesting stories without you. I will try not to. Let's all patiently wait for Popog to get back. If Abbott is defying yesterday's Supreme Court ruling, President Biden needs to establish sole federal control of the Texas National Guard now. Okay, yeah. And that isn't an easy thing to do, but I'm willing to bet it's entirely legal. That seems shockingly legal to me, that he could do that. I mean, it makes sense that he could. He's probably in their chain of command at the very top. He can just make the decision to do so. Texas border standoff with the feds continues despite U.S. Supreme Court order. See if this one says anything unusual. Get out of here, you pop-up. Rolling out concertina wire, yeah. Week 5-4 didn't give any reason to. The Supreme Court's 5-4 order didn't give any reason and didn't explicitly say Border Patrol agents were allowed to access the park, or that the state had to remove the concertina wire. So the state has doubled down, and some Republican lawmakers have said that Texas should defy the Supreme Court's ruling. See, that gets dangerous, man. Why would you say, hey, we should defy the Supreme Court because we don't like what it says? You're not a country of laws anymore at that point. If you're getting towards civil war, yeah, Meat Dragger's right. That once you start disregarding the things that the Supreme Court puts out, and you start disregarding the federal stuff like that, you're getting shockingly close to a civil war. I don't like that idea. I don't want that thing to happen. But that is kind of where it's leading towards, and it's all over just the stupidest reasons. On Wednesday, Governor Abbott defended his actions, saying Texas has the right to continue to do what it's doing. He added without providing evidence that President Biden has been refusing to enforce current immigration laws. President Biden has violated his oath to faithfully execute immigration laws enacted by Congress. Instead of prosecuting immigrants for the federal crime of illegal entry, President Biden has sent his lawyers into federal courts to sue Texas for taking action to secure the border. To our knowledge, Texas has only permitted access to Shelby Park by allowing public entry for a memorial, the media, and the use of a golf course adjacent to Shelby Park, while continuing to restrict U.S. Border Patrol's access to the park. So they're restricting federal agents' access to the park at the moment. I don't like that idea, because restricting will lead to someone trying to go through that restriction. That leads to clashing. That leads to people barking orders at each other. That leads to dick measuring. That leads to pissing contests, and then that leads to yelling, and then the yelling leads to violence, and then the violence leads to handcuffs, and the handcuffs lead to fighting, and then they start bopping each other with their nightsticks, and it's a whole thing. The Texas Military Department top officer also signaled quiet defiance in remarks made to agency staff during a Tuesday morning meeting, according to a source familiar with the comments. Military Times and the Texas Tribune verified the identity of the source, who requested anonymity due to potential reprisal from state officials because they are not authorized to speak publicly. The Texas Military Department continues to hold the line in Shelby Park to deter and prevent unlawful entry into the state of Texas. We remain resolute in our actions to secure our border, preserve the rule of law, and protect the sovereignty of our state. No one's taking your sovereignty away, man. Do you think that the poor people with nothing are taking your sovereignty away? They can't. On social media, Chip Roy, who well-known idiot, said Texas should ignore the ruling on behalf of the agents represented on the Border Patrol's rank and file unit. This opinion is unconscionable, and Texas should ignore it on behalf of the BPU union agents who will be put in worse position by the opinion of the Biden administration's policy. Well, I hate all of this. Guys can't just get along with the brown people. Not being allowed to oppress the powerless is a violation of their rights. Maybe. They have a sincere belief that they're allowed to oppress these people. They are intolerant. They're born intolerant. They want to be intolerant, and that's the life that they've chosen. They've chosen to be intolerant. And why am I not being tolerant towards their intolerance? It's a good question. Oh, hi. Thanks for watching all the way to the end of the video. The algorithm loves it when you watch it all the way to the end of the video. If you want to keep the algorithm happy, and I know you do, press the subscribe button, press the thumbs up button, leave a comment, tell me what you're thinking, tell me what you're feeling, and let's all keep that algorithm happy. Thanks. Have a good day.